Hi there students, if you're watching this it's because you're interested in economics-based conversation classes with an English native speaker. What I've done is I've made a short video to let you know what it's all about. I've called it Really Useful Topical English. At the end you can judge if that's a good title. Okay, I actually tried to do this couple of years ago and on one occasion before that, and it was the biggest problem was getting enough people who could come at the same time. That's why I'm making the video. At the end I'm going to ask you to message me and Mrs. Polakowska with the time you can come if you're interested. But basically we need 12 students as I understand it, and you need to be able to come at the same time. Okay, that's the most basic requirement. Okay, what are we going to be doing? Basically, I've put you must care about authentic sources. I mean, I've called these conversation classes, but really conversation is only part of it. It's actually guided listening, vocabulary build, it's all, and discussion. It's all of those things. But I will be using lots of sources, but I won't be using any textbooks, any handouts, any educational stuff. I'll just be using real materials, and it'll be quite topical. So a lot of those materials will be like, a few days old. They'll be from, the news as it's developing and stories as they're developing. More about that later. Basically, you have to care about that. If you don't think that's important, then the class isn't for you. If you think you can learn the business English you need from textbooks, and you kind of keep your English learning separate from your economics and business learning, and there's really no connection between the two, and you're happy with that, then this isn't going to suit you, because really we'll be talking about business and economics topics all the time. So if you're not interested in content, or you don't think I'm qualified to do content with you, or you don't think it's relevant, that's not going to work. I hope that'll become clearer by the end of this video. Next thing, you've got to be really interested in the subject. I know that kind of goes without saying because you're in a business school, but it is well worth saying. I find it really interesting. I'm not an economist, but it's the most exciting thing in town since 2008. I've put, happy to typically do 2 hours prep a week. Basically I've got plans for that. I'm going to hopefully post links to videos and audio and things I want you to think about in advance. Basically, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do 2 hours every week. But the classes are going to be a lot better if most people do it most weeks, because then people arrive and they've already got something to say. Otherwise you come to a class and you introduce a topic and the students take quite a long time just to warm up to the topic, and by the time they're completely engaged with the topic, it's the end of the class. This way it just optimizes our time together. What else? Yes, you've got to be prepared to speak before the group and to share. Basically, these are based on conversation classes. I mean, I don't do any regular teaching anymore. I make my living from trading, but I still have just a couple of meetings a week, and they're both with business or economics teachers. And that's fine, because we just talk about what's interesting, and I've got the internet here, and basically I prepare something and all kinds of stuff just comes up, and the classes just go in whatever direction our minds do. But that's fine with 2 people, but with 12 there has to be a lot more structure. And so basically I don't want to do just jug and mug. I don't think that's terribly useful. And so some of the time you need to be sharing in a group, maybe in a group of 4, and actually using the language and talking about the subjects I've introduced with the materials. Also, you need to be able to speak individually. You need to be prepared to do that. I'm making that a criterion before the class, because if some people say no, I can't do that, please, I don't want to do that, and one person opts out, then basically everybody's opting out apart from the 2 or 3 keen ones who really want to, and that's kind of defeating the whole object. So above all, you really do have to make an effort, because that benefits the whole group. And if anybody doesn't really put out and make an effort, then it deducts value from the whole class. Basically, the value comes only very partly from my presence and what I say, largely from the materials I bring, but a huge part of it is what the students are prepared to bring, well, not bring, but what they'll give in the class. And if they don't, then the classes become a bit rubbish. So that's why I'm asking for a commitment. What would happen in the meetings? This is a simple one. For example, I'll bring a BBC podcast, so maybe a 5 or 10 minute radio interview or something, and we'll listen to it together. It could be a video. Basically, I guess a little bit of teaching. We'll discuss the issues, I'll kind of warm you up, ask you a few questions, get you to talk about stuff. There'll be vocab obviously coming out of the audio text itself, and this tends to generate. Basically, the whole point of the texts I choose is that they're generative. They kind of introduce questions which introduce answers, so a lot of vocabulary comes out which isn't in the text. That's why I need a whiteboard. And then what I'll do is I'll make the text available so you can listen again at home. That's fine. The problem is it's still maybe just a little bit jug and mucky. It's basically me teaching and you learning, which is an ideal model for some subjects, but it's not an ideal model for basically language learning. Basically, if you're not doing stuff, then it's not really succeeding. One benefit of that, I guess, is that you don't have to do anything before the class. You just come and we do something and then you go home, which I know is kind of relaxing and kind of easy, but you can get more. I mean, really, this is what I'd like to do. Reception to production. I'll explain what this means. Reception, communication, production. This is a model I've just made up myself, but reception and production, you'll know if you've been learning English for any years. Reception generally means reading and listening, and production means speaking and writing. Not much writing, and communication is also speaking. It's there in the middle. Basically, here are some models. We can listen to a radio or watch a clip of a TV program. So put a couple of texts in the mix and make sure you understand them and you're engaged with them, and hopefully they'll be linking into stuff you already know. We'll do a bit of sharing together, then divide you into groups, I guess groups of 4, and basically what you do is I'll give you a topic or a question, and you recycle the language in your small group, and then you make some kind of presentation, which will normally be, one person or 4 people to the whole class. We can either use a flip chart, or there are other ways of doing it. Really, the model's very simple. Read. We won't use many reading texts, but we might read a few. Well, we will have a few, and hopefully you'll have read them in advance, because I'll have sent you a few things. You'll have already got some ideas going. And then you share in your group, share the ideas. Collate means basically bringing lots of text together. So I might ask you for a focus, I might give you a topic or a theme, or ask you for pros and cons, or to present a case. And then you'll use the material you've got and make a presentation. Another way of doing it, which uses the same model, is basically you can do the original reception at home. I mean, I can give you stuff to read, videos to watch, And you can do that at home, and that means that most of our time together is actually discussion. So it's actually using the language that you've already, you've already met at home. Again, that only works if people have done it, you know. And again, the presentation doesn't have to be in class. You can make a video, you can make a 5-minute video, and there are lots of great ways you can do that. Stuff we need in the class, we really need a whiteboard. Really, it's so important because it's where your vocabulary goes, it's where all your ideas go, all end up on the whiteboard. I'll bring a computer. I always bring the clips, the radio and video clips and web pages. I'll always bring them saved on my hard disk, but no paper. There will be no paper at all. So I'm not going to go around photocopying stuff and stuff like that. The audio and the video will be available either before or after on Facebook. For reading texts, really it's better if the students also have laptops. So rather than everybody crowding round my laptop and watching a video, and it's quite a big laptop, it's better if there are 2 or 3, or there's a projector, doesn't matter. Ideally, internet access is a great resource in the classroom. When I do conversation classes one-on-one, literally these days we're checking stuff all the time. So we have a discussion, somebody says something intriguing and we want to find out more, so we're on Wikipedia kind of all the time. And I do find that incredibly useful, especially if you're producing something. You know, if you're presenting something and you think you know that something is factually correct but you're not sure, or it's incomplete, or you need to check something, it's a very, very quick way of verifying facts. And again, you need to be willing. You really, really need to be willing to not only to speak but also to think. You know, this is content driven. You might think of these as English classes, but really they're economics classes. They're business materials. I mean, content matters. That's what I want to stress. At home, you will need the internet and you will need a Facebook account, so that you can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a group page on my Facebook page, and basically I hope all our communication will take place through there. So I'll throw up resources there so that you can look at them before the class, and so the ideas and vocabulary and all kinds of stuff are already seeded, so you're already ready to talk when you come. And also, you know, if we do interesting things, you're going to want to keep them and go over them again, replay things later, and I might put up, you know, vocabulary lists and all kinds of other materials, whatever.